Welcome, everyone, to Leadership Lunch Chat. I'm here with Jen Wilson, and it is our weekly chat where we kind of talk about the things that are on our mind from the past week of being out in the world of the accounting profession. And this week, what we decided to talk about was really the community of the profession. And I think it is something unique that not everybody talks about. We know it from being in the profession for a long time, but not necessarily something that is talked about of how important it's been to all of our careers, but also the bonds that I have seen over time because of that community. And I think Jen and I are an example of that, of, that's, where we really cooperate with each other. It's not necessarily something that we see as competition. It's everybody's got their unique gifts. And the one thing I learned as a CPA very early on was that I could not do it alone. Everybody, and no matter what your profession, you'll find this, but it seems like you're doing the same thing. However, everyone's got their own specific specialization and expertise and what they're good at. And I don't know that I fully appreciated it until I went into business myself and started on the journey of being a sole proprietor. And this was early on in my career, and just trying to figure out like how a business worked. In my head, I always thought with accounting, you put up your shingle and customers come, right? And so it was one of those things where I had to quickly start networking and making relationships. And one of the things that was so helpful to me early on was going to conferences. I went to my first conference and found people that were just like me and didn't realize, I don't know that I thought about it before. I had kind of gone to the conference for CPE, for continuing education, but didn't think that I was going to find this community that became so important because as an entrepreneur, a business owner, whatever title you have, a lot of times it's very alone. You're very lonely in that spot because you really don't have the resources to go ask people. Or even if you're in a bigger firm, the problem is that you don't necessarily the people they need outside people to talk to. So that has been for me kind of the beginnings of when I started creating community. And I just don't think we talk about it enough and how important it's been to my career for so many people to be so open and me be open with them to really share information.
I love it. So my mom was like a collector of people and a community developer, and she introduced me to all her communities. She had a whole bunch of different communities, and allowed me to participate as if I were an adult in her communities, which was a privileged position that I realize now. At the time, I sometimes resented having to go to her communities or participate, but I just saw the power of having people you could call upon. My mom was a connector, so she connected people to each other within her different communities and solved problems that way. And so I just saw that that was a way of being. And when I got into the workplace, realized that I could build my own communities inside my career if I wanted to, and that they didn't have to be like the way everybody else built their communities either, like my forefathers or whatever. I didn't have to do it their way, and also just even today, like a lot of my communities, there I have communities from my past employment, the whole technology community, and community from the BDO when I worked within BDO, and that I've certainly continued to have through the BDO Alliance and things like that, and then this community that my team and I have been building for a long time at Convergence, and there are different facets to the community. There's a whole fitness facet. See, so I'm sober, I don't drink. So at conferences and things, I'm not part of the community that would go out, partying and have war stories to tell. I have that from my past, no present day. But I have fitness friends, I have a fitness community that, and then we talk about while we're running or whatever, what we're up to at work and things. And then we start helping each other because we've talked about things that we're trying to get done. And then these different associations have communities, and really getting involved with those association communities through conferences, as you mentioned, Amy, and also volunteerism and, participating in planning committees and boards and things. You start to really connect. And one thing about the CPA profession is that it's smaller than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And the friendships last forever, even if you're not interacting with the people. You can have like breaks in time where you haven't seen or talked to them for a long time, but most, when you get back together, there's a super appreciation for the past work done together or the past help given one another, and you just get right back in there and do it. And I'm in the middle of one of those experiences right now, leading an AI CPA initiative as an external facilitator. And some of the people are brand new to me, a lot of them, but some I've known for, 2 decades or more, but haven't really interacted with or communicated with. But boy, are we, clicked right back in and helping each other, furthering something together. And another thing I would say about the communities in the profession, besides that they're small and there are a lot of them and they're all interconnected, is that for the most part, I haven't ever experienced a community where I didn't feel like we were all trying to get the best out of it, make the best, cause positive change, work smarter, elevate each other. Sometimes you encounter the random person who's got some dysfunction and isn't pro others or something, but it's mostly givers, and people willing to help, welcoming, all those things. So I feel really fortunate to have fallen into the accounting community and built my life's work here, because it's a great one.
Yeah. And I think we don't talk about enough of how open people have, even in the times when I started in the profession, it was definitely more conservative. And, there was so much about, guarding information and so forth. But, and when, early on, just seeing when you open yourself up, what happens. And now, seeing that with so many other communities and people and associations, and just how much time has evolved, where people so badly want others to be successful, but everyone's been in the trenches. So we have a shared understanding of where things can go off the rails in this profession. And most of the discussions, especially that I've been in lately, and I know you're on the other side of the discussion of trying to solve it from, a higher level. But I think from a people standpoint and community, what's being shared so much is personal accountability and responsibility to change things, right? Like there's the profession responsibility, but this is where community comes into play, that each person can have an impact when they're more open and transparent about their own life, about what they've gone through, of the changes that they've gone through, and what they've seen as a benefit once they've made that change. And I think so many times when we're not open about it, others look into the profession and say, oh, it's just one way. And they don't understand the personal accountability. And I would say the struggle, what I have found over time is that it's not so much, so working hard kind of happens over time, but usually what it stems from is from a heart place, that people care so much about their clients and they want to do everything that they can do for their client. And that's kind of the shared experience of like, how do I say no? And to have those conversations surface and be able to share how to handle that when you realize it's the own personal pressure you've put on yourself and maybe others, your teammates as well, because you feel this need to help others and feel this need. And it is a shared experience. It is a personality type I have found in this profession. And it's not with ill intent. It's so focused on that. But I think just seeing the power of community and the power of people opening up about this lately, and really understanding like, what do I need to do and how can I support somebody else to go down that path as well, is like so refreshing to see these conversations happening and sharing with one another. And that's really what got me thinking, is like, no one really talks about this side of the profession, of just how helpful everybody is to one another, even on the emotional front.
Well, big time. Yeah. And yes, I mean, maybe generationally, we would say that all of the U.S. workplaces have softened up as kind of I don't know, the greatest and silent generation. People moved on, and we were allowed to talk about our feelings and and share information about our personal life as if it was in fact part of our work life, which it is. So that was a shift, a big one. But inside this community, I was kind of smiling while you were saying, it's mostly people who want to help. I think it's also mostly people who aren't really comfortable with the word no.
Right.
And, so, in the desire to help and the unwillingness to have kind of a boundary setting conversations, conflict avoidance or something, we tend to really bend over backwards for one another and for our clients and things. And that's gotten us in trouble as a profession, because we have a reputation for working hard and working long and having too much work and all that stuff. And none of that feels that attractive to future leaders. And so we have to watch it acting sort of like we don't have a choice in that.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a choice to set boundaries. We do have a choice to trim client bases. We do have a choice to go deeper with existing clients and maybe not take as many new ones, or something. We have some power of choice. And I do think, Amy, that when we position our profession, we don't highlight how flexible the business models could be and are, and also how supportive all the communities that you can engage in as a part of a firm. There's lots of them. They're like a bunch of circles, and they overlap sometimes, but sometimes they're separate, and they're full of fun and cool people. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, and my kids, my daughters, they say, gosh, Mom and Dad, I hope that we can love our work like you guys seem to. And sometimes we're burdened by it. Sometimes it feels obligatory or something, but mostly we love it. And why do I love it? I love it because of the people, it's the truth. My friends and friends I haven't met yet. Just, the stuff we're up to, the real conversations we're having and the change we're driving. And it's exciting. And so I just don't think that comes across to high schoolers or middle schoolers or college students, or sometimes it doesn't come across to the kids of the CPA community, because we're so busy complaining about busy season or our workload or the hours or whatever, that we aren't really saying, and by the way, I really like the people I work with, and we have a lot of fun at work, and my clients make me laugh, and I get to golf or run with them or fish with them or whatever, like there is a lot of good in the community aspect that we probably don't promote enough and remind ourselves of too, to be grateful of it.
Yeah. And I think those moments are really important. I've had the opportunity in the last few months to speak to some student groups in college. And it is a reminder of how much we don't start teaching this in college. this aspect of being a professional and where you find support and community. So, I think, even kind of, seeing their comments or how they've responded after the sessions, it really starts in college where you get so driven to what you define as success or what you want to accomplish in that short period of time, and you start losing sight of yourself, I think, once you get into college, unless you're really paying attention to it and not focusing on the people side of a job and how you want to make sure that you're with like-minded people when you're selecting jobs and in your profession and so forth, that it doesn't have to be mandated to you, but everyone's got to take the time of what is this value I want to create in the world. There's been, it's just been interesting because, talking in those groups and then having some of these discussions at conferences, so many picked this major by default, by accident, and but stuck with it because of the support they were getting or the opportunities they were getting or someone intervening as well. And so I just think that people side is and then if you ask staff in a firm of what they value most about the firm, number one answer always is the people. Like I'm never seeing that the answer is something else.
Yes, I agree.
And it's because there's so many like-minded people that genuinely care, whether you might have issues here and there or whatever. And like you said, Jen, throughout your career, people come back from different periods of time. I mean, we can look back now and see that, but those relationships matter. And so, I would give advice to people entering the profession or
Oh,
if you're younger, you are building your career is really fun, and that community piece, because if you are just focused on the work, the problem is when you need to come back to your community and relationships later for other things that you are doing or other initiatives or wherever you're looking. Even now, I because of this community can reach out and say, oh, my son's going to be graduating school soon, and and who do they know and can help. So I think it's a really, really important thing that you never forget that in your career, that you're not just so focused on the work.
No, and how can I help other people? How can I connect them? That whole idea of being a net promoter, a net connector. So I love that, and we're having a little bit of lag, Amy. Just that we had a little bit of a get together. So anyway, I think we're back and firing on all cylinders now. I hope. So I'm not sure though, because I can see you a little bit, but it's not going perfectly. And I hear you laugh, which is the best part of the whole thing. But I think we have to.
Yeah, it does seem to be lagging. But yeah. Well, yeah.
So I'm gonna.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining our leadership lunch chat.
That's good. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for being part of our community.